Case classifications allow you to add attributes to cases, and they sit on a level above the cases, categorizing whole groups. Some examples of case classifications you might use could be person, that you'd apply to people you've interviewed or involved in focus groups. Here you might record attributes like gender, age or occupation. Or perhaps you'll have a case classification for business. Here you'll have each of the businesses you've worked with recorded as cases and record attributes like their number of employees, their turnover and the industry they're based in. Or maybe your study's transnational and one of your case levels will be country, and here you'll record things like the population, language and climate. When using case classifications, you really need to think about what you want to get out of your study, because that will shape the attributes that you record. For example, if I was measuring an intervention across 3 schools, then it would be really important which school somebody I interviewed worked at, and that would definitely be one of the attributes that I recorded. Let's look at a practical example. In the previous 2 videos we've created 2 cases. We manually created Barbara and we automatically created William. We can now apply attributes to those 2 cases. First of all, we'll create the case classification person using the one we created in the previous video. We'll add the attribute options for gender, age and township, and then we'll be able to add the values for Barbara and William respectively. This also means that any data coded to Barbara, the case, or William, the case, will also have these attributes associated with it. So in the case of anything Barbara says, NVivo will know it was said by a female, 40 to 49, from the Betty Township. For anything said by William and coded to his case, NVivo will know it was said by a male, 50 to 59, from Straits. Let's look at how we practically do this in NVivo. The first thing that you'd need to do is go to Case Classifications, right click and choose New Classification. Here you could type the name of the classification and then click OK. You'll notice I added Person Demo because we don't really need this one as it was created as part of the auto-coding wizard. So I'll stick with the person classification from the previous video. Next, I need to go to my cases and make sure they're all allocated to that classification. We can see that William's case is, because this was done in the auto-coding wizard. Because we created Barbara manually, we also need to manually link this to the classification. I right click, choose classification, and then choose person, and I can now see both cases are classified as person. I'm now able to go in and add those attributes. So I return to Case Classifications, right click on Person and choose New Attribute. The new attribute window opens and I can specify the first attribute, in this case gender. As there are a finite number of options for this, I can specify them under values. It will let me add male, female, and any other options required. I can then click OK. The next attribute I need to add is that of age. Again, there are a finite number of values, so I can specify these. And then finally, I'm going to right click, add new attribute, and this time township. As there is a great variety in townships, I'm not going to specify the values this time and instead will type it in. If I need to change any of these, all I would need to do is right click and choose Attribute Properties. Here I can rename or go to Values and add additional values. Now I'm almost there. I've created my case classification, I've added attributes to it, And I've associated my case classification with individual cases. With all this in place, I can right click on my case classification and choose Open Classification Sheet. I now have the ability to go through and allocate these values, such as William and Barbara's genders, their age groups, and finally for their townships I can double click into these cells and type the required attribute values. All of this data is now linked and associated together. If I go to my cases and right click, choosing case properties, I'll see they're also stored in attribute values. While this seems like a lot of work and it might not be immediately useful, this is incredibly useful when we use queries later on. We'll be able to query based on the attributes that we've added. For your own research, you'll need to think very carefully about what attributes you might need to collect and how you intend to use them.